Let's have some fun with car names that are, naughty. Last week, a song came on the wireless, and my son mentioned the hidden meaning behind the title and the words. And we then got into a discussion about the hidden meaning in some songs. I then realised that there was something similar with cars, certain linguistical problems with car names. And seeing as how we're rapidly approaching what I call the silly season, it's time for some silliness. These are going to be sort of in an order of chuckles, starting with one chuckle and moving on up. So one chuckle. Back when I was growing up, Ford had a car called the Escort. Now, I'm sure I don't need to say that an Escort is some sort of companion that you can take back to your hotel room, pay by the hour. Anyway, I didn't think like that when I was young, honestly. But nowadays, I still chuckle a little bit. So, moving on up a little bit, maybe to two chuckles, we come to Mazda. Now, some time ago, they had a car called La Puta. This is nothing to do with Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, where he ends up in Lilliput with the Lilliputians. No, this is La Puta. And in Spanish, la means the, and puta, a bit like an escort. It's a girl who provides favours of the sexual kind. Maybe Mazda thought that Ford was onto a good thing, so they'd go one better and use the Spanish word. Or maybe they were thinking that in Latin, la puta is to sweep. Or two words, la puta, means let's say. I'm not sure what they were thinking. So we're just going to get through a few quick ones. Some of them are not all that rude. Chevrolet Nova. Now, there was also a Lada Nova. Nova or Nova in Spanish means no-go. Oh dear. Toyota MR2. Now in France, that's MR2. Say it fast enough, MR2. Well, that sounds a bit like more poop going around the place. Sticking with the French again, the Audi TT Coupe, pronounced very similar to Tete Coupe, which basically is French for cut off your head. I'm not too sure about those last two, but vive la révolution. Now, the Mitsubishi Town Box was a great car for getting around the narrow streets in Japan. Nothing wrong with the name, but Mitsubishi frequently abbreviated it to T-Box, and so you ended up with the Mitsubishi T-Box. Not sure if that was a fitting name or not. Fiat came out with the Fiat Uno, which is not all that much trouble, because after all, Uno in Italian is one. Trouble is, in Finland, Uno means fool, so you could have been driving around in a Fiat Fool. Lamborghini named one of their $2 million supercars after a fighting bull, the Lamborghini Reventon. Unfortunately, in Spanish, it means blowout. I don't think that's something you'd like to have at a top speed of over 220 miles an hour or 350 kilometres per hour. Daewoo was not immune to silly names. They had the Daewoo Espero, which basically means you were driving a car called the Daewoo I Hope in Spanish. They renamed it to Aranos in some Spanish-speaking countries. And Ford had a car called the Pinto. Now, in Brazil, pinto is an expression for a small penis. Oops! It was also known as the Mercury Bobcat, and I think that's probably a more fitting name for it. So it does help if you can speak a few languages, and maybe some car companies need to employ somebody of a multilingual persuasion. So VW, for instance, they had the Jetta, which is very much like the Italian word ieta, which means a streak of bad luck. Not exactly rude, but still worth one chuckle. But then in 1992 in Europe, they had a car called the Vento, which is Italian for wind, but also euphemistically for a fart. So we went from having bad luck to farting. Well done, VW. So I don't know what it is about the Spanish language, but they must have a lot of swear words, because Mitsubishi came out with the Pajero, which when you write it and pronounce it in Spanish is Pajero. Yeah, that's the male form of a noun meaning a male that pleasures himself, i.e. wanker. The female term is pajera. But in Spain, many people, when they saw these pajero drive past, would make certain hand gestures to them. So Mitsubishi eventually changed the name in Spain to the Montero to get over the pajero euphemism. All right, so that's still worth a couple of chuckles maybe. Let's get into the Hyundai Kona. Now, that's spelt with a K. Yes. In Portugal, or in Portuguese, it's spelt with a C. But it still sounds the same. Kona. But it's a vulgar word for a part of the female anatomy down below. You know, the vagina. So, in Portugal, Hyundai came up with a different name. But Opel had a car called the Ascona, which is very similar. But Opel kept that name and it became a very popular car there. Wonder why? Audi. They're making electric vehicles, albeit rather expensive ones. And they followed some other car makers using the letter E for electric. But what they failed to realise is that their electric car called the etron, in French, when you write it, it's pronounced etron, and it means turd. Yep, maybe that's what the French think about German Audi cars. I don't know. Maybe we should ask them. Anybody of a French persuasion here that thinks Audi cars are etron? But let's get to la creme de la creme. But it's not a car name. It's a handle for Instagram. And VW here, yeah, they're at it again. Thank you, VW. Really appreciate this. Their handle on Instagram for Volkswagen in Italy is Volkswagen Italia. That sounds perfectly all right. But when you write it for their Instagram handle, guess what? It's Volkswagen Genitalia. Yes, I've got to say, I love that. And please, Volkswagen, do not change your Instagram handle. It just gives me several chuckles, that one. Just don't change it. Thank you. I'm sure there's plenty more. Those are the only ones that came to my mind. So if you do come across any more or know of some, put them down in the comments. Thanks. And then I can have even more chuckles. Now, don't forget, please click on that like and subscribe buttons below. It helps the channel, helps motivate me, and I can produce more rubbish like this. So thanks very much, and I'll see you all very soon.